Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you are doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today we are going to take a quick look at Expedition to Skull Island. This is a game that you can get for only $5 at itch.io. And I picked it up early last week, and I have been having an absolute blast with this little game. It is a pirate-themed hex crawl in which you will be taking a crew, a ship, along with 15 of your pirate crewmen. You will be managing their skills and their ammo and health and some status effects, as well as a supply of food, general supplies, lamp oil, medicine, trinkets, treasures, and wonders. So you will be managing all of that while you are embarking on a super entertaining hex crawl through the Skull Island as you try to get to the center, to Skull Rock, discover what's there, and then get back to Tortuga with your treasures and your discoveries. There are 3 paths to victory. One, you can go for an economic, you can try to score points for collecting treasure, you can try to score points for collecting wonders, which is through exploration, or you can try to score points with a variety of those 2 things. The points don't really amount to much at the end of the game though, because as most games like this, the fun is the journey along the way. The points just kind of give you something you can work towards. So this is a kind of a solo RPG style game. It does benefit from a little bit of journaling, but I don't do a lot in this game. I just kind of write down cool little snippets of things that happened while I am playing. So when you start off the game, you are going to have to outfit your ship. So what I did though is the game does come with a roster, with a ship's roster already completed, so you can jump right in. And I went ahead and did that. And one of the reasons why is you are dealing with 15 different crewmen, and it can take a while to fill out your roster. And the reason why is you have a certain amount of money. You start with $100, and you have to have 15 members on your crew. And you can buy different skills for those crew, such as ambassadors, doctors, historian, leaders, psychic, scientist, soldier, athlete, fisher, hunter, navigator, sailor, scout. And those all come into play when you're doing skill checks. So whenever you do a skill check in this game, you're going to roll a d6. A 5 or a 6 is a success. And if you are trained in that skill, if you have that skill keyword, then you are considered to have an advantage at that skill, and you can add 2 to that die roll in order to help you pass that skill check. And there will be a lot of skill checks that you will have to overcome during the game. But once you would have to think of a name for all 15 of your crew. Then you would have to buy them your skill keywords, and then you would also have to buy them their supplies. You've got lamp oil, ammunition, medicine, supply, food, and trinkets. Trinkets you actually don't buy. There's trinkets, treasures, and wonders, gemstones, mementos, artifacts, and totems. Those are all things that you will discover while you are on the island. So I actually prefer to just use this pre-generated roster just because it saves quite a bit of time. What I'm thinking I might do for my next game is go ahead and generate one of these electronically with my own crew and generate my $100 crew, but then use that for all games going forward. It is also kind of hard before you play to know which keywords, to know which skills you're going to need on your journey. And some skills like being a soldier or a hunter or a doctor or a navigator, those might come up more often. But once you get all of your crew together, then you can embark towards Skull Island. Skull Island comes with this pre-generated version of Skull Island in which you have deep water hexes, you have jungle hexes, you have beach hexes, and then cliff/mountain hexes. So this is kind of like a pre-generated version of Skull Island. there are also rules in the game to generate your own version of Skull Island. And the main map here is set up in large hexes, which are comprised of 19 smaller hexes. And so the rules will have details on how to draw your large hexes and how to set those up with the boundaries of the land and where the water is and how rivers are passing through. So if you want to get super detailed and create your own pirate world to explore, you can by creating your own ship roster and your own Skull Island. Or you can just use what the game provides and jump right in. So once you have all of that set up, you need to embark on your journey. And the first thing you do is you do some sea travel. So you need to roll a d6 and you need to determine how many days at sea you are going to have to travel to reach Skull Island. And while you're doing that, you're going to have to be making navigation checks. You're going to have to be rolling against weather to see what kind of weather, to see how that will affect your navigation. You can stop off at small islands to maybe find some supplies or some food, or you can progress to Skull Island. When you stop to investigate a small island, you're not going to make any progress towards the length of your trip. And then there are also sea encounters for you to have while you are on the sea. Once you reach Skull Island, you're going to pick one of these little boat areas, and these are the deep water areas, to dock your ship. And then once your ship is docked, you will need about 4 or 5 different tokens to keep track of things on your map. My little D6 here, my number 1 pip, is my main ship. So my main ship is here. And once I docked here, I had access to these 6 different hexes surrounding my ship. So I had 3 deep water hexes, I had 2 beach hexes, and then this water hex. So I took my crew along with my longboat, and my longboat is a 3 up here. So this is a boat that I can take so I can travel along rivers and through water. And my crew is my number 2 here, and my number 4 here is my camp. So I took my crew on this water spot here, and then I took the river up into the heart of the island. I established a camp here, and now I am exploring. I just went back to my camp for the night, because I just went through my night phase, and now it's a morning, and I'm starting a new phase. I'm starting a new day. During the day, you can do 3 different, you have time for 3 different activities. So you have morning, midday, and evening. And in each one of those time slots, you can do the following. You can move your ship. If your crew is at your ship, you can move your ship to a different docking spot. You can travel by longboat. If your crew has their longboat, you can travel around the water. You can travel in lakes. You can travel on rivers with your longboat. You can travel by foot. You can portage your longboat, so you can carry your longboat across land masses to different areas of water, but you can't carry your longboat through cliffs and mountains. You can set up a camp. You can spend supplies to set up a base camp, and once your base camp is set up, that is a place that you can return to after a day's worth of adventuring in order to rest and heal. And if you don't have a camp set up, your pirates will become weaker and might get, they won't have an opportunity to heal themselves. You can also fortify your camp. You can spend a few more supplies to make your camp a fortified base. And in that instance, if you are attacked during the night phase, you get to take first attack, and you have a really good chance of fending off that attack before you take any damage. Then you can also tear down your camp, regaining 3 supplies so you can set your camp up later. You can forage for food, and that can either be in the, you can either hunt or fish. And then you can also rest at the base camp, or you can rest at your ship. And during the nighttime, you do need to make it back to your camp to have a good night's rest, and you need to feed your crew. And every crew has to eat a piece of food for your day. I started with 330 food. I am right now down to 293. I've been feeding my food and hunting and gathering along the way, along my journey up through this river, up through this valley. So here's some of the things that might have happened to me on this journey so far. The first day, I went fishing. I caught some fish. I spotted a group of sea lions hanging out at this cool looking rock. They were just kind of lounging and swimming around and playing. And that gave me a point of wonder. I can just kind of imagine my pirates just kind of enjoying watching the sea lions at play. As I made my way up through the river, I was attacked by 5 native warriors. I defeated them and gained 2 trinkets. And then as I was further into the river valley, a torrential rain came and it started a flood. So I had to take shelter in a cave. I had to spend 3 days in the cave before the floodwaters went down. During that time, 2 fishmen appeared out of the flooded water, and I had to fight them. And I gained I wrote trinket here, but it was actually a wonder because these were like kind of supernatural creatures. So I got some wonder for fighting them. The next day, I was attacked by 4 rival pirates. I gained a treasure for defeating them. Then at the base of the river where it meets a larger body of water, there was a waterfall. I was attacked by a jungle cat. I failed my hunting check, so I wasn't able to loot its pelt. And then the next day, I realized that I was being stalked by another jungle cat. And so now anytime that I enter a jungle hex, I have to roll a d6. And if I roll a 1, then this stalking jungle cat might attack me. And right now, my Hook Hank, he just led a hunting party into a jungle and he found 8 food for us. So as you explore the hexes, each time you enter a hex that you have not explored yet, that's where the fun really starts in this game. Actually, everything has been fun in this game. There are some rough edges, and I'll talk about those in just a minute. But for the most part, yeah, I freaking love this game. It is so much fun. This is a perfect game for me. It's chill, it's low key, it's perfect for slow questing. A great hex crawl with a ton of adventure, and most of that adventure happens in the unexplored hexes. Because when you enter an unexplored hex, you get to roll on these huge charts of random events. And each of the terrain has its own charts, its own pages. So you have beaches, jungles, water, river, cliffs, mountains, darkness, and finally Skull Rock. And then you also have here a pretty large bestiary of all kinds of different creatures that you can fight. But when you enter into a hex that has not been explored yet, you roll a d6. On a 1 to 3, you encounter just a little simple encounter. So let's say we were at a beach now, and I rolled a 1. So then I would roll on this little encounter chart here a 5. Warriors from the interior of the island hurl spears at you. Fight 1d6 warriors. Okay, then you would do combat. Sometimes nothing happens. Here, sometimes you might find a village or something like that. But the fun really starts when you start getting into these special encounters. So if you roll a 4, 5, or 6, then you roll a d66. 21, we'll say, and then you turn to that paragraph here and you read your paragraph. Some of these are one-off paragraphs where something will happen, such as this one, 21. You notice a strange sea creature in a tide pool here. Make a scientist check. If you succeed, read paragraph 3. Otherwise, gain a food. Okay, so I would have to do a scientist check to read paragraph 3. Let's say that let's see if I have a scientist. Yes, so let's say Pegleg John. He is skilled as a scientist, so I can make a skilled check for him. So I roll this. I'm going to add 2. So 4, which makes it a 6. So I am able to identify the sea creature. So now I can turn to paragraph 3. It says you realize that it is a hitherto unknown type of starfish. You can take it as a memento for its scientific curiosity, as a treasure for its value to a biological society back on the mainland, or as one food. Okay, so that gives you a choice of what you want to do. Some of the paragraphs will give you choices on how you want to make your decision, and you will be told to turn to other paragraphs. So there are small single paragraph adventures and multiple paragraph adventures. And that is true. So there are 77 paragraphs for the beaches. For the jungle, there are 81 paragraphs. For the different water encounters, there are 71. river encounters. There are 91 cliff encounters. There are 82. You have darkness encounters for when you go into caves. And in the darkness, there are 72 different encounters. As you explore the mountains and the cliffside, exploring those hexes is a little more difficult. So you have to find caves and you have to avoid ravines that you can't cross. You have to build bridges to try to get from one cliffside to the next. And all the while you're trying to get to Skull Rock. And once you get to Skull Rock, you kind of have your final adventure where you get to, usually you will have to face off against some kind of a really tough creature or some kind of really tough skill check. So yeah, overall, I can highly, highly recommend the expedition to Skull Island. I think it is super fun. I love just exploring the hexes, writing down really quickly in a little journal what I find on interesting hexes, making notes on the map. There is so much room for discovery, so much room for interesting things to happen, and the book is absolutely filled with interesting things to happen. Unfortunately, it's also a little rough around the edges. There are some inconsistencies with how it describes things. One instance here, when you're reading it, so first, like supplies, there are 3 types of supplies you can buy to provision your ship, and then it lists 5 different things. A couple things like that. Here it says that medicine represents bandages, salves, and other curatives to treat ailments. And then it says here that supply represents general supplies not otherwise tracked above. They are expended for setting up base camps, housing, and attending to wounds. However, when you come back to the rest at base camp, it tells you to use medicine to attempt a doctor check to cure a wound. So what is it medicine or supplies you are using to cure a wound? I also do feel like managing, even though there's not a ton of bookkeeping, managing a whole crew of 15 different characters does get a little overwhelming at times, especially when you're dealing with food, because you're dealing with up to 15 numbers of food, and having to just constantly keep updating your food every turn can get a little cumbersome. But sometimes you might be told, for instance, if you're going to enter a combat, there was a combat that I was going to enter, and every single one of my crew members had to pass a test to see if they could enter combat. So I had to roll 15 dice, keeping track of which ones could enter the combat and which ones couldn't. That doesn't come up often, but it came up enough to make me want to. I wish the game was kind of like maybe rebalanced, where I had a stable of 15 crewmen that could come with me, but I could choose to take 5 out on one adventure and leave the rest out back at base camp or something like that. But it doesn't come up often, and there's so many other cool things about this game that I don't even really care about that. You don't have to be skilled in a skill check to make the test. You can still, so if you have to pass a hunting test and one of your characters isn't a hunter, they can still take the test. They just don't get to add any bonuses. The game also does come with this quick reference sheet, so you can really quickly find a random targeted crew, because a lot of things happen to random crew members. When you go into the village, the things you can trade for trinkets. When you're entering cliff hexes, what you will find in those cliff hexes, because they are more dangerous. A list of the actions you can take during your 3-day phases, what happens at night, and then what happens when you forage for food, because the hexes will either be barren, scarce, they will have a natural amount of resources, or they might have an abundance of resources. So yeah, this is a fantastic game. If you are looking for a really fun hex crawl that has a good momentum to the narrative, it has good things to discover, it has different ways that you can play the game, all kinds of different random encounters. And if you're concerned about scoring points, if you want to try to get better at the game, it has a whole point scoring system, so you can tally up how good your expedition was. It has charts of even smaller little random encounters for wandering encounters that you might come across. Again, there's some in the ship, on the beach, in the jungle, in the water, in the river, in the cliffs, in the darkness, in Skull Rock, and then just all of these pages of awesome paragraphs and really cool, interesting, mundane, and supernatural things that you can discover. So yes, I do. For $5, this is a no-brainer for fans of the Dungeon Dive. I can't recommend this game enough. You know, let's give this guy the Dungeon Dive bump here. You know, go to itch.io and make him wonder why so many people are buying this game right now, because yeah, it's totally worth it. And I can't see fans of the Dungeon Dive not enjoying this game, even with some of those rough edges, even with a few of those problems. The good qualities absolutely shine through. I would love to see this game further developed. I would love to see it maybe in different settings, maybe a more fantasy setting or a sci-fi setting, or just kind of a further developed. I hope this isn't the last we see of Expedition to Skull Island. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this game, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.